So this is Vlogmas. Hello friends and welcome back to Vlogmas. Today we are going back to talking about having the blues during the holiday season. And specifically today, I want to share with you how important it is to understand it's okay to say no. And in fact, in order for your self-care and spiritual well-being, sometimes it's very necessary to say no during this season. Um, there's so much going on and there's so many expectations of what we should do and how we should be. And all of the festivities, for the most part, are about celebration and cheer and having a good time. But there are times when that's not the place that you're in and you can't force yourself to be in a different place. And while I'm not suggesting that we isolate ourselves from other people during this time, I certainly do not want to suggest that in any form or fashion. I do suggest that sometimes you have to give yourself permission to not engage in everything. If you are not feeling up to that Christmas party or going to a concert or a large gathering, then it's okay to forego that for this season. What I would suggest, though, in the hope of not isolating, is that you find different ways to connect. So if the large gathering is overwhelming, then perhaps you schedule lunch with a friend, or if going to the big tree lighting ceremony in the middle of town, that crowd is too much, even though it's something you've enjoyed in the past, maybe go for a walk one day when it's not as crowded and you just enjoy the solitude and the peace, but you still are getting out there and you're still engaging in life. I will have some resources in the comment section if you are feeling like you need additional help and you need someone to talk through some of the feelings that you have, because the blues is one thing, but we know that depression is real, and that during this time of year, the expectations, many unrealistic expectations that we're confronted with, can magnify and exasperate how we're already feeling, what we may be experiencing in terms of our mental health and well-being. And so I think it's important for us to take care of ourselves, to be gentle with ourselves, and to not feel beholden to what we've done in the past or to anyone else's expectations in terms of what we ought to be doing right now. I do think it's important to find new traditions, new ways of being, adapting to new normal, especially when you're experiencing the loss, whether that's the loss of a loved one, the ending of a relationship, even moving or loss of a job, any sort of major life transition that is either not in our control, but sometimes even when we do want them, they can still cause anxiety. They can still cause feeling of unease within us, and it's important for us to be in tune to that. But especially with the grief process, I think it's so important that we understand that grief is a process and we have to go through it. We can't force ourselves to feel ways that we don't feel. We can't force ourselves to skip past whatever the steps that we may find ourselves in. If you're at a point of being angry, then you have to work through the anger. You can't pretend that, oh, I'm not angry when you're angry. You can pretend it, but ultimately what is in has to come out. And so it's either a way, we either have to figure out how to channel that for growth and for progress. And working our way through it means that we actually will get through to the other side. I once heard someone say that if you're going through hell, keep going, In other words, don't stay there. You have to, even though the last thing you want to do is go through what you're going through, if you go through it, you'll get through it and you'll be somewhere else on the other side of that process. And grief is the same way. That as painful as it can be, we can't shortchange it. We can't force ourselves out of it. We have to go through what we physically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, relationally, socially, all of those things, what we need to go through in order to get to the other side, to being whole, even if being whole is a new way of being well, even if that's a new normal of wellness. So my prayer for us during this continued Advent season is that we will find the grace within ourselves and from without, but especially from within, to allow ourselves to say no to the things that we need to say no to, in order then to give space and room for us to say yes to what is helpful and healthful in our lives that will move us to a place of restoration and renewal and wholeness. And remember, as I conclude this time with you, that God is with you, God walks with you. God does not expect you to put on any sort of show or pretend for God, but God wants you to be who you are in the moment, and just know that God's abiding presence will see you through until you get to the other side. Let that light shine within you so that eventually it will also shine through you, and you will be whole and healthy and happy again. That's my prayer for you. That's my wish. And until I see you the next time, be blessed.